most of us think it sure would be nice to have some supplemental income. Today, we will learn about some ways that are available to make extra money on the internet through the concept of crowd surging.
Sourcing.
Oh, sourcing, crowd sourcing.
Works like that.
Yeah, it does.
Hold up just a second.
Okay.
The speech is in 10 minutes.
Number 9.
How would you like to make an additional $100, $200, $300, $500 a month? Well, everyone naturally would like to be able to do that. The internet has spawned some technologies, some techniques, and tools that allow this to be very real at absolutely no cost to you. Now, we've all seen the earn money from home kind of signs around town. Well, most of these guys require you to buy something to start that process. The stuff I'm talking about is not that. This is stuff you can start when you go home, when you leave this room, for no cost to yourself. With the exception of sweat equity, it is going to take some effort, okay, and some real effort to really get to those kind of numbers. So this is not something that you're going to leave and next week be making $500. It's going to take real effort, but it is within your grasp, I assure you. So what is this concept of crowdsourcing? Well, Wikipedia's definition of crowdsourcing is the act of outsourcing tasks traditionally performed by an employee or a contractor to an undefined large group of people or community, a crowd, through an open call. Now, sometimes they're paid, and the ones we're going to talk about are. Sometimes they're not, and Wikipedia itself is a crowdsourcing tool. Wikipedia is created by anybody. You know, you submit things, and once you are approved, a lot of these require an approval process, but once you're approved, you can submit to these things and become the source of the information. Wikipedia is 100% a crowdsourced tool. People contribute to that. So what are some of the money-making things that are out there that are, from what I can tell, very legitimate? People are doing this on a regular basis. Well, start with an easy one. We're all familiar with Amazon.com. Amazon.com in 2005 started a service called Mechanical Turk. It's Amazon Mechanical Turk, or mturk.com. So Mechanical Turk is a process where you go through a process, you sign up, again, no cost, and people list things they need done. They call them HITs, human intelligent tasks, tasks that a computer can't do, that it takes a person to do. So people, businesses, individuals, organizations post tasks on Amazon's Mechanical Turk. You can go in there 24 hours a day, look at what's available. There are thousands upon thousands of tasks that vary in pay from a penny, which seems kind of laughable, but we'll talk about that, to $25 or more. So I've heard $90 in some cases. What are typical kinds of tasks? Well, one task, a very famous task that you may have heard a little about was, remember back in 2007 when Steve Fosse's plane, or he went missing initially. So in 2007, Steve, south of town here, somewhere out in the wilderness, he was just gone. Do you remember hearing that they were saying that they had got people to start looking at satellite imagery to look for him? That was done through Amazon's Mechanical Turk. So a satellite company called Digital Globe actually posted sections of this imagery, and you would go in, anyone could go in and say, I'll do this particular section. And the impression I got is it was paid pretty low. It was more of a volunteer effort because the pay was low enough to do a good job. You were doing it really from your heart. But nevertheless, you'd go through and say, okay, I'll take this chunk. I'll look at this section of the satellite imagery. And the concept was that you'd go through at these detailed high-resolution satellite images and look for what might be a plane crash and report it. It wasn't successful. He wasn't found by that method, but that was a crowdsourced activity. 50,000 people participated in that. So that was an example of a crowdsource issue. Now, Amazon Mechanical Turk does require some of the tasks require a qualification process, and the people posting it have various qualification processes. One of the kinds of typical tasks on here is translation projects. So people will put up projects to translate web pages or papers or documents, and those pay pretty well. So if you have some potentially second language skills for translation, some money to be made there. A translated document maybe, or a document or a page or something could be $3, $4, something like that. So you can go in anytime, do it, boom, post it, get paid. Another example would be tagging photos. So kind of like the digital photo I was talking about with Fosse's plane. There are numerous like governments and organizations that will like post pictures of roadways, and they want people to go in and tag where all the drainage inlets are or where all the signposts are on the photograph. You have to tag them. Again, things that a computer can't do. People have to do it. So these are the kind of tasks that are out there. I read a lot about, are people actually making money on this? It's 100% legit. There's nothing scam about this system. The issue is it really worth your time? And there are examples of people saying, well, I just spent 20 minutes on this project and made 10 cents. Well, that doesn't make any sense. But as you go through the process, you can learn, you can start to wise up to, okay, well, what does make sense? And it looks like that people can get into a groove fairly quickly of maybe a $15 to $20 an hour kind of process. That if you're paying attention, you get qualified, you go through some processes and get yourself qualified. It's an option. So that's an option you go through, no cost. It's going to take some effort though to learn the system, to kind of see how it works. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme, but it's an available scheme that if you had extra time, you do it in the middle of the night, you do whatever you want. It absolutely is a way to make some extra money. Another very similar, I'm not going to go into detail because it's virtually the same as Amazon's Mechanical Turk, is CloudCrowd. CloudCrowd.com does the same sort of thing. Surveys, another common thing. I did a few myself. I did actually sign up, and one of the things I did was a survey for a potential restaurant menu. Didn't know who it was, but it was actually through like the Duke Business School who posted it, so I was like, I'll check it out. Paid me like 75 cents. So I went through the process, and they said, okay, how many calories do you think this is? How many calories, kind of guess what that is. What do you think is healthy? What do you think is a splurge? So some of these kind of questions, it took, 5 minutes to do it. I went through, did it. I'm not getting rich quick off that, obviously, but it's an example of kind of some of the stuff that's out there. Again, CloudCrowd, another example. All right, another pretty interesting potential. A lot of people are amateur photographers. Some people are pretty skilled at it. I know that our own Mr. Myers is more than amateur. Well, a whole world has sprung up around what's called micro stock photography. Basically, taking your photographs, arguably your good photographs, and posting those to microsites, usually through an approval process. And then graphic designers and ad agencies can use those photos, and you'll get paid a commission when they do. The most famous one is an organization called Shutterstock, shutterstock.com. And they have some pretty rigorous, you gotta have pretty quality stuff. It can't be grainy stuff, it can't be resized. So, you follow their procedures, but by all accounts, these are things that you could figure out. So you go through and you figure out the methods of what their submission process is. And you can submit your photos to Shutterstock, and people have reported that one guy had a case where he put up 300 photos, and he earns now a consistent income off those photos. So his deal is, even if he walked away, they're still earning money in the background. He earns about $150 a month off 300 photos that are up there. Yeah, maybe worth doing. Last thing to talk about is a program called InfoBarrel. This is probably the best one of all. InfoBarrel is a article writing site. So you write articles about 500 words, so they're not huge. It's about 3 paragraphs or something like that. And there are, once again, tips and tricks for getting more effective articles up there. But you write good articles, and they get posted on the InfoBarrel site. Again, no cost. But when they're posted, people do web searches for some subject. They potentially find your article on InfoBarrel, and there's going to be ads that InfoBarrel puts on that page that if they click that, you get 75% of the ad revenue. Pretty sweet deal, actually. This one is probably got the highest potential for the most money, the quickest, I guess I'll say. A few months of time, but a very good example. A gentleman who I read his blog regularly talks about it. In December 2009, he put up 100 articles. Now that's, he said it took him better part of the month. He wrote a few a day, 3 a day or so he had it. Wrote 3 a day, got those articles up there. And since that time now, every month he's making about $350 off the ads on those. And he says he hasn't touched them since December 2009, not a single thing. Every month, another $350. So again, the better the articles, there's some tricks to try to get things that people are searching for that there's not a lot of keyword competition for. Very specific things, very hyper specific things, vague things or big things are going to be hard to compete with. But an example may be fly fishing at Pyramid Lake. That's kind of an obscure topic. And maybe fly fishing techniques. You get, the more specific your stuff, the less competition there is for those searches, the better chance you'll have of getting hits on that stuff and potentially getting some revenue. So again, I'd urge you guys, check it out. There's some pretty cool stuff. None of it's a scam. None of it costs you anything except your time, which is obviously real. But you can go through these processes if you have the patience for it. You genuinely, there's all kinds of examples that you can genuinely start making yourself some extra income. Just took my turn.